Orlia Prime had always been a quiet world. Its sky glowed with soft amber hues, and its oceans sparkled under the twin suns. Humans had settled here decades ago, building a colony of hope far from the crowded core of the Allied systems. For years, life moved slowly but peacefully, with children playing near the rivers and scientists studying the strange alien flora that grew in abundance. Lieutenant Marcus Kane had known this peace only briefly. A young officer in the colony's defense forces, he had been trained for emergencies, but nothing could prepare him for the day the Xyler arrived. The first sign came as streaks of shadow in the sky, dark shapes moving faster than any ship Marcus had ever seen. At first, many thought they were storms or meteorites, but then the alarms began. Sirens wailed across the colony, and the voice of the colony commander echoed over the loudspeakers. "Red alert! All personnel battle stations now!" Marcus sprinted across the central plaza, dodging panicked civilians. His heart pounded, but his training kicked in. He reached the control tower and immediately began coordinating with the remaining defense units. Outside, the Xyler ships descended with frightening precision. Their hulls shimmered with an unnatural blue energy, and their weapons fired bolts that melted through the colony's shields effortlessly. "They're everywhere," Marcus muttered under his breath. He glanced at the tactical map, watching red dots appear where Xyler landing pods had touched down. "We can't hold them for long," he admitted, though he refused to panic. The humans fought bravely, but the Xyler were relentless. They moved with coordination, striking with deadly speed. Marcus and his team managed to hold off a few landing pods, but each victory felt temporary. Explosions shook the buildings around him, sending clouds of dust into the air. Amid the chaos, Marcus's mind raced. Civilians were still fleeing toward the shelters, but the Xyler had cut off several escape routes. He spotted a family trapped near a collapsed structure. Without hesitation, he dove into the rubble, pulling a young girl from the debris. Her father had already been injured, but Marcus helped him to his feet and guided them toward the emergency corridors. Every step was a gamble. Another explosion rocked the plaza, sending Marcus tumbling. Dust filled his lungs, and he coughed violently. Through the smoke, he caught a glimpse of the Xyler warriors, tall, alien, and armed with weapons that seemed to hum with energy. They moved with grace and precision, scanning for survivors. Marcus knew that if they saw him, it would be over in seconds. He ran, weaving between the broken structures, and finally made it to the underground shelters. Inside, panic mixed with despair. People were crying, shouting, and praying. Marcus pushed through, helping guide families towards safety. But even in the shelter, the sounds of destruction above continued. He could hear buildings collapsing and the occasional scream. Hours passed. Marcus had no way of knowing if the main colony command had survived. Radio transmissions were mostly static, and the few messages he received were desperate cries for help. Yet he refused to give up. He checked on the wounded, organized survivors into groups and rationed supplies. Each decision mattered, even as the Xyler presence above seemed unstoppable. By nightfall, the colony had lost most of its outer settlements. The Xyler had established control over key areas, and the humans were forced underground. Marcus walked through the dimly lit tunnels, his thoughts heavy. "They think we're weak," he muttered, thinking of the Xyler reports that had called humans fragile and short-lived. "They have no idea." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Princess Liara was monitoring the unfolding events. As the heir to the Allied systems, she had access to intelligence reports that few others could see. When news of Orlia Prime's attack reached her, most advisors recommended preparing for evacuation of remaining colonies or surrendering to the Xyler to avoid unnecessary losses. But Liara did not listen. She had heard stories of Lieutenant Marcus Kane before, how he had shown bravery in smaller skirmishes near the colony's outposts. Reports said he had a gift for strategy, a courage that often inspired others, and despite all odds, she believed he was still alive. In her private quarters, Liara studied the incoming transmissions. Her fingers traced over the holographic map of Orlia Prime, noting where the Xyler had landed and which areas still had traces of human resistance. "Marcus Kane," she whispered. "I won't let them take you without a fight." Back on Orlia Prime, Marcus faced a new challenge. Supplies were dwindling, and the underground tunnels could not sustain everyone indefinitely. He gathered a small council of survivors, engineers, medics, and former soldiers, and discussed their options. "We can't just hide," he said firmly. "If we stay here, they'll find us. We need to plan something they won't expect." One of the engineers, a woman named Tara Chen, nodded. "We could use the old mining shafts. They run all over the colony. If we can get through them, we might be able to strike at the Xylar supply lines." Marcus considered this. It was dangerous, but daring strategies were all they had left. He spent the next hours studying maps, calculating risks, and assigning tasks to each team member. The survivors began to work with renewed energy, their fear slowly turning into cautious hope. Night turned into day. Outside, the Xylar patrolled the surface, unaware of the humans plotting beneath them. Marcus moved through the tunnels, checking on each team, making sure everyone understood their role. Every small victory, rescuing a trapped civilian, securing a supply cache, or disabling an enemy scanner, felt monumental. Yet the dangers were never far. During one supply run, Marcus encountered a group of Xylar soldiers. Using quick thinking and improvised weapons, he managed to escape, but not without injury. The near-death experience reminded him of the stakes. Humanity's survival depended on courage, intelligence, and an unshakable will. Through the weeks, Marcus and his team began to adapt. They learned to move silently through tunnels, set traps for patrolling Xylar, and communicate without detection. Each success brought new hope to the survivors, proving that humans could endure, even when the galaxy had written them off. Princess Liara, observing from afar, watched the signs of human resilience. She began sending covert messages and supplies, carefully avoiding Xylar detection. Her faith in Marcus grew stronger with each update. She knew that one human believed to be lost could change the fate of an entire colony. One evening, Marcus paused in the tunnels and looked at the small group of survivors gathered around a dim light. They were tired, scared, and injured, but they had not given up. He felt a surge of determination. "They think we're weak," he said softly, echoing his earlier words. "They're wrong. We will survive, we will fight, and one day we will take our home back." For the first time since the attack began, hope burned brightly in the hearts of the survivors. Marcus's leadership, courage, and ingenuity had given them a chance, even in the face of overwhelming odds. And somewhere across the galaxy, a princess believed that humanity could rise again, no matter what the Xylar thought. As the night deepened, the tunnels of Orlaia Prime were silent, except for the quiet sounds of planning, repairing, and dreaming. The humans were preparing, not just to survive, but to reclaim their world. And though no one else expected a human to survive, Marcus Kane and his small group of survivors were living proof that courage, intelligence, and determination could defy even the most impossible odds. The first chapter of their story was written in shadows and whispers, but the legend of human resilience was only beginning. The underground tunnels of Orlaia Prime had become a new home for the survivors. Marcus Kane walked carefully through the dim corridors, listening to the quiet murmurs of people working and whispering plans. The colony above was still under Xylar control, but below ground, hope lived. Each day was a challenge, and each night tested their courage. Marcus had been awake since before dawn. He examined the maps and sketches that Tara Chen and other engineers had prepared. The old mining shafts ran like veins beneath the colony, connecting abandoned factories, storage rooms, and even some hidden maintenance corridors. If the humans could move through them quietly, they could reach the Xylar supply lines and strike without warning. "This is risky," Tara said, pointing at the map. "Some shafts are unstable. If we collapse one, it could bury us all. But the others, they could give us access to the surface without being seen." Marcus nodded. "We have no choice. We can't wait for them to destroy us. If we want to survive, we must fight smart, and we must fight together." Over the next few days, Marcus organized small teams. Each group had a specific mission: scouting, securing food and supplies, and gathering intelligence on Xylar patrols. Humans had never faced a challenge like this before, yet every member worked with determination, inspired by Marcus's courage and leadership. One evening, as Marcus prepared to inspect a supply run, he heard a faint tapping on the tunnel wall. He froze. It was a rhythm, a signal. Marcus held up his hand, and the workers fell silent. He approached the wall and listened. The tapping continued, repeating a pattern that seemed familiar. "Princess Liara," he whispered. Indeed, it was her. She had somehow found a way to communicate with Marcus without alerting the Xylar. Small crates of supplies arrived in secret, along with messages that guided him toward weak points in the alien patrols. Liara's faith in him was unwavering. Marcus felt a surge of determination every time he read her messages. Humanity was not alone, and someone powerful believed in them. The first strike team was ready. Marcus, Tara, and a small group of survivors moved through the narrow shafts toward a Xyler supply depot. Each step was careful, silent. The humans had learned to move like shadows, avoiding detection. When they reached the surface near the depot, the sight was terrifying. Xyler guards patrolled in pairs, their glowing weapons scanning the area, but Marcus had studied their patterns. "Wait for the third guard to turn," he whispered. "Then move, stay low, stay quiet." The humans advanced, their hearts pounding. Using ropes and makeshift tools, they disabled the guards silently, one by one. Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline. They were doing what no one expected a human to do: survive and fight back. Inside the depot, they found crates of energy supplies, weapons, and communication devices. Tara quickly marked the locations for future raids. Marcus inspected the depot carefully, making notes on weak points and possible traps. They moved fast, leaving no trace behind. By the time the Xyler discovered the breach, Marcus and his team were already gone, hidden in the tunnels below. Back in the underground base, the survivors celebrated quietly. Each small victory gave them confidence. Even the children helped, carrying supplies or relaying messages. Marcus walked among them, smiling despite the exhaustion. "This is just the beginning," he said. "We can't stop now. Every strike we make, every success weakens the Xyler, and it shows them humans are not easy to defeat." Days turned into weeks. Marcus and the survivors executed several raids, each more daring than the last. They sabotaged supply lines, rescued captured humans, and disrupted the Xyler patrols. Every mission was risky, but the humans adapted quickly. Their courage and intelligence surprised even themselves. During one mission, Marcus encountered a group of Xyler prisoners. They were captured aliens from a species previously enslaved by the Xyler, forced to work in harsh conditions. At first, the prisoners were afraid of the humans, assuming they were enemies. But Marcus spoke to them calmly, showing that humans were fighting for freedom, not revenge. "We are not your enemies," Marcus said. "We fight for survival and justice. If you help us, we can all be free." Slowly, the prisoners began to trust him. They provided information about Xyler patrols, supply caches, and hidden weaknesses in the enemy positions. Marcus realized that humans, when united with other species, could achieve far more than anyone expected. Princess Liara continued to support them from afar. Her messages grew more detailed, guiding Marcus and his team toward strategic targets. She even arranged for small arms and advanced technology to reach the underground network, disguised as routine shipments. Marcus could not see her, but her presence was felt in every successful operation. One night, after a particularly dangerous raid, Marcus sat alone in a quiet corner of the tunnels. He examined a small Xyler weapon he had taken as a trophy. It hummed softly in his hand, a reminder of the alien technology he now had to understand and counter. "We are stronger than they think," he whispered. "They expect us to fail, but we won't. Not now, not ever." Meanwhile, the survivors adapted to life underground. Children learned to navigate the tunnels, carrying messages and supplies. Engineers repaired old machinery, creating hidden defenses and communication networks. Every human, no matter their age or skill, contributed to the growing resistance. Marcus also trained small groups in tactics and combat, teaching them how to move silently, set traps, and use the environment to their advantage. He emphasized strategy over brute force, knowing that humans could never match the Xyler in raw strength. Their advantage lay in creativity, determination, and unpredictability. During one scouting mission, Marcus discovered a heavily fortified Xyler communications hub. Taking control of it could disrupt enemy coordination across the colony. He shared the plan with Princess Liara through a secret channel. "This could change everything," Liara replied. "If you succeed, the Xyler will be disoriented. We may even inspire other colonies to resist." The mission was dangerous. Marcus led a small team through the narrow mining shafts, emerging near the hub under the cover of darkness. They used a combination of stealth and clever traps to neutralize guards and bypass security systems. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, but he did not hesitate. Every action counted. Inside the hub, they quickly disabled communications and set small explosive charges to destroy critical systems. As they retreated through the tunnels, alarms began to sound. The Xyler realized something was happening, but it was too late. By the time reinforcements arrived, Marcus and his team were already gone, safely hidden underground. The success of the mission was a turning point. Humans and allied prisoners gained confidence, knowing that they could strike powerful Xyler positions and escape. Every victory, no matter how small, proved that the aliens had underestimated the humans. Back in her observation post, Princess Liara smiled. She sent a message to Marcus. "You are not just surviving, you are leading, and the galaxy is watching." Marcus read the message and felt a mix of pride and determination. He knew that the road ahead would be even more dangerous, but he also knew that humans, when united and clever, could overcome almost anything. Weeks later, Marcus and Tara worked on a plan to expand the resistance. They would recruit more survivors, coordinate with alien allies, and strike at multiple Xyler targets simultaneously. The goal was not just survival anymore, it was to reclaim their world. "Humans are stronger than they think," Marcus said to Tara. "And one day the Xyler will see that strength for themselves." The tunnels of Aurelia Prime echoed with activity. Children laughed quietly as they ran messages. Engineers repaired old machines. Scouts returned with reports of enemy movements. And Marcus Kane, the human no one expected to survive, planned the next daring move in a war that the galaxy had written off as hopeless. Through it all, Princess Liara continued to believe. She had faith in one human officer, and that faith fueled a growing legend. Word of the underground resistance spread quietly among occupied colonies. Humans were no longer seen as weak. They were clever, determined, and impossible to ignore. In the darkness of the tunnels, the resistance prepared for the battles ahead. Marcus knew the Xyler would strike back, and that danger was ever present. But the humans were ready. They had adapted, learned, and grown stronger. Each strike, each victory, and each act of courage proved that humanity would not be defeated. And so the stage was set for the next chapter of the fight. Marcus Kane, the survivors of Aurelia Prime, and Princess Liara, though far apart, were united in purpose. Together, they were rewriting the fate of a colony that everyone else had counted out. The humans had survived. And now they would rise. The underground tunnels of Aurelia Prime were alive with energy. Marcus Kane moved through the corridors, checking on teams and coordinating the next stage of their plan. Weeks of careful preparation had led to this moment. The humans were no longer just surviving, they were ready to fight for their world. "This is it," Marcus told Tara and the other team leaders. "The Xyler are strong, but they underestimate us. We've learned their patterns, their weaknesses, and how to move unseen. Tonight we take back what is ours." The plan was bold. Marcus divided the resistance into 3 groups. One would sabotage the Xyler supply lines, another would strike the command centers, and the third, led by Marcus himself, would infiltrate the central hub of the occupation forces. The goal was to create chaos and confusion, giving humanity a chance to reclaim the colony. As darkness fell over Aurelia Prime, the humans moved through the hidden tunnels. Children and engineers stayed behind, keeping communications and support active. Every step was careful and silent. The underground network, once a shelter for survival, had become the heart of a rebellion. Marcus led his team to the central hub. The patrols were heavier than usual, but he had planned for every detail. They avoided detection, using shadows, hidden paths, and clever distractions. When they reached the outer walls of the hub, Marcus studied the security systems. Energy barriers pulsed with a steady rhythm, and Xyler guards walked predictable paths. "Remember," Marcus whispered, "speed, precision, and teamwork. We cannot afford mistakes." The humans moved as one. Tara handled the technical systems, deactivating barriers and disabling sensors. Scouts kept watch, signaling when the path was clear. Marcus led the way, his heart pounding but his mind focused. Every step brought them closer to the center of the Xyler control. Inside the hub, they encountered the first resistance from the Xyler. The aliens moved quickly, but Marcus and his team were faster and smarter. Using traps and clever maneuvers, they neutralized the guards without raising alarms. It was a careful dance of strategy, skill, and courage. Marcus paused as he reached the main control room. The walls glowed with holographic displays, showing troop movements, supply lines, and energy shields. He quickly relayed instructions to the teams outside, ensuring that every part of the plan moved in sync. Meanwhile, outside the hub, the other human groups were making their own strikes. Saboteurs destroyed supply caches, cutting off energy and weapons. Another team infiltrated smaller command centers, creating confusion and preventing the Xyler from coordinating. In the chaos, the humans discovered a small group of alien prisoners who had been forced to work under the Xyler. They were frightened and weak, but Marcus reassured them. "We are not your enemies. Join us, and together we can be free." Slowly, the prisoners began to fight alongside the humans, providing valuable help and knowledge of the enemy. Princess Liara watched from a hidden observation post. Though far from the battlefield, her presence was felt. She had coordinated the supply lines, communications, and reinforcements. Her belief in Marcus and humanity gave the resistance courage. Every successful move, every strike, proved that humans could rise against the impossible. As the humans pushed deeper into the hub, the Xyler commander appeared. Tall, imposing, and armed with advanced energy weapons, he had never expected the humans to reach this far. His eyes glowed with shock as he saw Marcus standing with his team, calm and determined. "You should have surrendered," the Xyler commander said, his voice cold and sharp. "Humans cannot win against us." Marcus met his gaze steadily. "We are not weak, we are human, and we will survive." The battle that followed was intense but strategic. Marcus used every skill, every bit of knowledge he had gained from weeks of observation. The humans used the environment to their advantage, setting traps, exploiting weaknesses in the Xyler technology, and moving with speed and intelligence. Despite being outnumbered, the humans succeeded. The Xyler commander was forced to retreat, stunned by the courage, strategy, and resilience of his opponents. The humans had taken control of the central hub, cutting off the enemy's ability to coordinate. Outside, the other teams were completing their missions. Supply lines were destroyed, smaller outposts were liberated, and the Xyler patrols were in disarray. The colony that had once been thought lost was now in the hands of humans and their allies. Marcus and his team moved through the hub, securing key areas and ensuring the prisoners were safe. The humans had proven that determination, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the most powerful foe. As dawn broke over Aurelia Prime, the surface of the colony was quiet. The Xyler had retreated, their ships leaving streaks in the sky as they fled. Humans emerged from the tunnels cautiously, their eyes wide at the sight of the rising sun over a reclaimed world. Children laughed as they ran across open fields, and engineers began assessing the damage and planning repairs. Survivors embraced one another, tears of relief mixing with smiles of triumph. Marcus stood at the edge of the main plaza, watching as humans celebrated. He felt exhaustion in every muscle, but also pride and hope. Princess Liara arrived shortly after, her ship landing carefully on the newly liberated colony. She stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. She looked at Marcus and the gathered survivors with admiration. "You believed when no one else did," she said softly, addressing Marcus. "And you proved that humans can rise against any challenge. Today, Aurelia Prime is free because of your courage and leadership." Marcus bowed, slightly humbled. "We all fought together," he said. "Every person here contributed to this victory. Humans may be underestimated, but we survive, we adapt, and we fight for what is right." The survivors cheered, their voices echoing across the colony. Word spread quickly to other human colonies in the Allied systems. Marcus Kane's actions became a symbol of hope. Humans were no longer considered weak or expendable. They were strong, clever, and capable of overcoming impossible odds. In the weeks that followed, the survivors worked tirelessly to restore Aurelia Prime. Buildings were repaired, defenses strengthened, and food and water supplies secured. The human spirit shone brightly, a reminder of what courage, unity, and determination could achieve. Marcus continued to lead, teaching others the strategies and skills that had allowed them to succeed. The alien allies who had joined the fight stayed on, building trust and cooperation with the humans. Aurelia Prime became a symbol of resistance and resilience, a beacon for those still oppressed by the Xyler in other parts of the galaxy. Princess Liara remained a close supporter, visiting the colony and helping coordinate efforts across the Allied systems. Her belief in Marcus and humanity had never wavered, and her guidance had been instrumental in their victory. As the sun set over the restored colony, Marcus walked through the plaza, watching children play and families rebuild their homes. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Humanity had survived when no one expected it. They had fought, endured, and risen stronger than ever before. "This is only the beginning," Marcus said quietly to himself. "Humans will continue to grow, to explore, and to defend what we hold dear. We are strong, and the galaxy will know it." The story of Aurelia Prime became a legend. Marcus Kane and the human survivors proved that even in the darkest moments, courage, intelligence, and unity could defy the impossible. The colony had been lost, but humanity had risen. And those who had doubted the strength of humans would never forget it. From the shadows of despair to the light of triumph, Aurelia Prime stood as a testament to human resilience. And somewhere far across the galaxy, Princess Lyra smiled, knowing that her faith had been rewarded. Humans could survive, they could fight, and they could prevail against any enemy. The humans of Aurelia Prime had survived the impossible. And now they were ready for whatever challenges the universe might bring.